Hello, hello, beautiful woman. Oh, I'm so excited. You guys have been asking questions and interacting in the group, which is what I love. I'm like loving this every moment. So, I'm hopping on live in answer to one of the questions that has popped up in the feed, right? Now, we are talking about what happens to a woman after she has given birth to a child, right? We are talking about the question asked is, does the dosha change, right? Now, as we have talked about in the Ayurvedic body types, there's two main dosha classifications, the Prakriti and the Vikriti. So Prakriti is the natal constitution, the one with which you are born. It depends on what was the predominant dosha in the father's sperm and mother's ovum at the time of fertilization, at the time of conception, because that's what determines your quality. That is why different children from the same parents have different body types, because their parents' body types might have been in different states of balance or imbalance. Yeah? So the Prakriti is not meant to change. Over the time, it doesn't matter. In fact, it is considered a Arishta Lakshanam, which means it's considered inauspicious. It's considered threatening for the life if your natal constitution suddenly changes. It's not a good sign. So no, the dosha of the mother does not change. And the second thing is the imbalance. Yes, that's the Vikriti. Vikriti is the imbalance that happens because of a particular diet or lifestyle or stage of life or disease or sickness happening. Imbalance definitely happens, right? Now, what I wanted to talk about here is the time after the placenta is expelled from the body is called the Sutika Avastha, post-purpureal stage in Ayurveda, and the rishis have got different, they have given 4 timelines of when do they consider a woman to go back to their normal pre-pregnancy stage. The most common one is 1.5 months, which is approximately 6 weeks and 40 days. And as we have seen in many cultures, we follow that 40 days of taking the precautions for the newborn baby as well as the mother, so that they maintain a good life throughout. Yeah, so the health status stays good, because if the precautions are not taken in those 40 days, diseases can get seeded in that time. It is very interesting because one of the precautions is not to use the cold water. And while I was working in hospital in Delhi, we had lots of women in the age group 50 to 70 come in with the rheumatoid arthritis. And because I was exploring this connection, like why is it mentioned to use hot water, especially in the first 40 days after having a baby? And every woman that I asked, when you had your child back then, when you were in 20s, 30s, did you take these precautions? And most of them said they were by themselves and there was no one to help them, and nobody took care of whether it's cold water or hot water, or nobody told them, and hence they had used the cold water. So you can see the connection, like if those precautions are not taken, after few years it does impact the health status, especially the joints and muscles. Now I was looking for the reference to for this, and it's very interesting quote I have found in the text Ashtang, and it says why we should look after the woman after she has delivered the baby. What are the benefits of this management? So it very specifically says, I'll read it out to you. The woman becomes weak or emaciated due to the development of fetus, and also empty-bodied. See the term they are using, it's called Shunya Sharir in Sanskrit. It's like empty-bodied. Due to the unsteadiness or languor of all the dhatus, labor pains, excretion of kleda, the moisture, and blood. With this regimen, she attains all the lost things and reaches her pre-pregnancy stage. Now, why I wanted to talk about this is very interesting in the archetypal journey of woman's life. I'll explain it to you. I don't know if you have heard the story of Demeter and Persephone. So what happens is the Persephone is like tied up on the mountain with left to die, that death will claim her. But it's the Eros, the son of god Zeus, who comes and claims her. What it signifies is the death of the maiden archetype in a woman and the birth of the wife. It is like women go through so many deaths in their lifetime. So the minute you leave behind your being a maiden, the innocence, and become someone's wife, you have gone through a death. You have died to that past life and you have embraced it. You are born into a new life, right? In the same way, there is this archetypal death happening when a woman becomes a mother. So the wife or the woman who has not given birth to anyone, she has died and a new life as a mother has come through. Yeah. So, and what I believe is, and what I have felt with my both pregnancies is how much expansion that happens in the energetic field. If you have ever done Reiki on a woman who is pregnant, you will find her aura is so expansive because it holds both the baby and the mother. And her energy is high vibrating because a life is being created within her. Yes? So I just wanted to, this question prompted in me like, oh my God, this is archetypal death happening here and a rebirth happening here again, which is an opportunity for us to tune more deeply into that intuitive intelligence, because it is within all of us, but before this death happens, we haven't tapped into it. So you must have seen women like they don't even know about energy or intuitive intelligence, but mothers, and they call it the mother's sense, sixth sense, that she knows what's happening with the baby, no matter whether she knows she's intuitive or not. And this transitional phase of going through this helps us to deepen more into our soul self. So when I was pregnant with my son, I mostly did a lot of meditation, but I wasn't aware of I hadn't paid attention to the shadow work and the darkness and divine feminine. I was more into staying positive and asking for all the good things to happen. But at the time of pregnancy of my daughter, I was aware of the darkness. And I went through that, and the spiritual growth I had with my daughter was way too accelerated than what I had with my son. Even through the conception, throughout the pregnancy, she was constantly, there was this constant change happening in me, in my intuition. And after the birth, and even after the birth, like so much changed. Yeah. But I'm digressing from the main question, sorry, but I really wanted to talk about this because this is like so exciting, the archetypal thing. Now, what we are talking about, the dosha change and the imbalance. So according to Ayurveda, the Sutika Kal, the time at which the precautions need to be taken, is the two main are, one is the 40 days regimen, which is basically anatomical because the uterus goes back to its normal position. And the second one, their rishis have said, the appearance of the menstruation, appearance of the cycle. The reason they have said this is because each woman has her own physiological cycle. So some women get the period like after 2 months, and for some women it comes after 1 year. I remember I was like so happy because 9 months of not having period, and then for 1 year till I was breastfeeding him I didn't get period, so like 2 years period free. I digress again. So what happens is, when we pay attention to this, when the cycle has restarted, that means the physiology has re-established itself and come back to the normal, and that means it's gone back to the pre-pregnancy stage. The imbalance that happens because the whole process of holding the baby in the body and then eliminating when the time is right is the domain of the fifth kind of vata, the apan vayu, which controls all the elimination. So most of the imbalances that happen are of vata, and that is why you will observe in the 40 days regimen there is emphasis on using oleations, massages, dense energy rich food, and also in maintaining the warmth, maintaining the temperature, and avoiding cold and dry things, avoiding direct exposure to the wind. Yes, so the most common imbalance that can happen is of the vata, and all the precautions that are stated in management of the lady are basically to pacify the vata. However, in certain cases, like if the infection or inflammation has set in, any kind of itis, either in the sutures or in the uterus, then that goes into the domain of the pitta inflammation, but that is not very common. Most common one is the vata imbalance. I hope that answers your question, and if it raises more questions, please pop the questions. I love answering these questions, and it triggers, like it opens the new doorways for me, like bringing in the archetypal death of from maiden and to rebirth as a mother. Yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, and yeah, so that's pretty much for it today, and I will be going live on a separate one now to talk about another topic. Yeah, leave comments. What did you feel? See if any other questions came up. Love you all. Thanks for joining me, and I'm hopping on again after finishing this one. See you in that one. Bye.